It's September 29, 2020, Tuesday. Good morning, this is Shahid Amin, and you are watching the Daily Newscast. Today, we're going to talk about the latest news on none other than multinational corporations. MNCs are one of the non-state actors that are not directed by or funded by the government, and they have facilities and other assets in at least one country. We know that MNC can provide their host countries with many benefits such as employment opportunities and the latest technological innovations. However, they can impact a or more than one country negatively, such as a severe environmental impact. MNCs have the means to mass produce goods using the cheapest methods possible. Because of this, their desire to minimize costs and maximize profit is oftentimes at the expense of the environment. Due to their economic significance in their host country, they often end up being in a position of power where they lobby advantageous environmental regulations that favor profit over nature. Next, again, due to their size and mass production, they also have the potential to drive local operators out of business because local firms on average do not enjoy the same economies of scale. Lastly, many multinationals expand their companies in countries with the lowest corporate tax rates in order to avoid tax in their own country. We can say that sure, there's a lot of social benefits of MNCs, but are they causing more harm than good? Today, we invited two panelists from Malaysia, Bushra binti Muhammad Afif and Wan Ahmad Azri bin Wan Abdurrahman, to talk about these three issues in a much deeper context. Let's invite the first panelist, Bushra, to share her thoughts on the first issue of which MNC can provide a severe environmental impact. Let's take a look.
Thank you very much, Ms. Shahida. So to preface this issue, I would like to elaborate that this issue is usually faced by countries that are at an economic disadvantage, since their desire to gain and collect revenue overpowers their need to regulate a company's environmental impact. So consider, for example, Trinidad and Tobago, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Slovakia, Suriname, and Barbados. In many years, they ranked highest in terms of received CO2 relative to their GDP. And they are also among the countries with the weakest environmental regulations. So to aid in helping reduce severe environmental impact, MNCs should work on building more climate-resilient workforces. This means taking risk-reducing measures that can also benefit the low-wage workers in the developing countries in the long run. Examples of this are teaching emergency and evacuation responses to urban workers, as well as teaching farmers how to use less water in water-scarce regions, as well as developing anti-malaria medicine for workers who work under, rainy and damp weather. And yes, the same can be said for building more climate-resilient products. So products that originally use more resources. So resources like water, electricity, timber, and etc. than is necessary can actually be made more environmentally friendly and efficient. So an example that we can take is when recently Unilever redesigned Omo. Omo is a laundry detergent, and they came up with a newer version that they called One Rinse. And One Rinse requires less water for laundry, and it's targeted at people who usually wash their clothes by hand. The company estimates that this new One Rinse detergent can save up to 30 liters of water per wash. This is especially beneficial for those living in countries with water shortage. So through steps like these, MNCs can actually help reduce the environmental impact that they have instead of adding and promoting.
Thank you, Bushra. Now let's move on to the next panelist, Azri, to hear his thoughts on how MNCs can also affect local businesses out of the market.
Thank you, Ms. Jada. Regarding the issue of local businesses will have a higher competition with MNC is true, because MNC they sell a better product and their product are much cheaper than those at the local competitors. This will result in local businesses, they will be out of their market. And to compare it with MNC's profit is much bigger and they can afford to pay better wages and invest in a highly skilled workforce. And for local businesses, this can be very disastrous because they either must match the higher wage scale to retain their staff in their own operation, or they must watch their best and most talented people jump ship to go to the MNC. A quick example, a clothing brand from South Africa, a local clothing brand named Hilton Wiener, Jenny Button, Achajo, all of them are local businesses, and we as Malaysian, we never heard of them because it is local, and now they are dying because of MNC, and then it is hard for them. So what is the possible solution for this? We have to connect local businesses and MNC, because they can make direct contractual linkage between local businesses and MNC to allow local firms to learn directly from MNC. To conduct this operation more effectively, multinational companies or MNC can be partnered with local businesses for supplies. They also might use resident businesses to get their products to local consumers. They employ local companies on contracts and rent out franchises, which results in growth for the local companies. To accommodate their multinational partners and provide efficient support, local businesses must develop advanced methods of conducting business. This might include using lean methods, provide better workplace conditions, hiring skilled staff, and adopting efficient marketing plans. Also, affiliation with international companies often puts local businesses in direct contact with better technology. Examples are companies that have fended off foreign competition. In Russia, Wimbledon Foods is the biggest producer of dairy products ahead of Danone and Coca-Cola.
Interesting. Lastly, let's hear from both of the panelists on how MNCs go to other countries in order to avoid tax.
Alright, let's start off by explaining what exactly is tax avoidance and why it's an issue. A tax avoidance scheme is the practice of depositing money into different bank accounts for the purpose of avoiding taxes, which is basically based off on your income. So oftentimes this procedure is done in a foreign bank account as an offshore scheme. However, these schemes are legal in the EU, but there are fears that this will very likely lead to tax evasion.
That is very well put, Vishal. And a possible solution for this is through a method called a profit sharing agreement. One way of shifting tax liability is through a profit sharing agreement. This involves assigning a share of costs and profits to subsidiary in a low tax jurisdiction. A profit sharing agreement is a contract outlining the terms of the profit sharing agreement. Both parties should negotiate, document, and sign this agreement before entering into a partnership. It is often used when two entities work together for the same purpose. This could be an unincorporated joint venture where they do not form a new company for the purpose of the project. They also used in employment and independent contractor situations where individuals agree to split profits for the company they are working for. So I think that's all for the possible.
We thank these two for their time and insightful thoughts. For those of us you see and for those of us you don't see, again, this is Shahidamin, and thank you for choosing Daily Newscast.